All right. Well, today on the podcast, we have Josette Norris on the show. Welcome to the show, Josette.
Thank you so much for having me, Lindsay.
You're like the name everybody's talking about. I'm so excited to have you on the show and also so close to the trials. This is awesome. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm really excited. Just before this, actually, the trials tickets just got released. Me and my fiance Robby were scrambling to get all our tickets for the prelim and the final, but we got it, and I'm feeling good and calm. The family and friends will all be there, so we're set. And I just had my last big workout this morning as well. And it's just crazy that we're so close. I'll be racing next Friday in the prelim, and I'm just really excited for the opportunity. I can't wait.
Ah, so exciting. What does the ticket situation look like? How many do you get?
So they actually expanded it to six,
Okay.
and you can buy tickets if you race in the first 4 days. So you can buy a ticket for all of those 4 days, and then if you race in the next 4 days, you can buy tickets for all those 4 days. So originally it was four, and it got moved to six. So looks like everyone can get covered in a way because so many people have so many tickets now, even just like my teammates and friends who are competing as well. So I think everyone will get a ticket if they can be there and want to be there. So.
Okay. And what was that last workout you did?
Today it was 2 by 600, 1,000, and then just 432. And that
Okay.
was it. It was a short and sweet workout, but just getting the legs moving and just sharpening up. And now I'll have a little tune up workout on Monday, and then it's just resting until the prelim on Friday.
And so the prelim to the finals, you have a week in between?
We have I'll race the first round of the 5K on the 18th, and then we have 2 rest days, and then the finals on the 21st on Monday.
Okay. I don't know why I was thinking the final was the 27th. 3 days.
Normally, the 5K is like at the end of the Olympic trials, but this year they put it on the first day to match the Olympic schedule. So I think that's why the situation's so crazy with girls not being able to do the 1,500 5K double. So that was
Yeah.
the biggest twist of the new schedule. So the 5K is now on the first day compared to usually it being towards the end of the meet.
So, how do you feel like that shifts the field then with people not being able to do both?
It's definitely changed the field significantly. As far as I know, the rumor is that Ellie and Shelby will be in the
Hmm.
1,500, and both of them would be top contenders in the 5K. So the team in in for a lot of eyes went from two spots being potentially secured to two spots being open. So I think that definitely shifts the game in just who you're going to be racing against. But across the board, both events are so stacked. The women's distance scene is unbelievable right now. So the 5K is definitely going to be an extremely hard team to make, but it definitely increases my chances if those girls are still in the 1,500.
Yeah. So, tell me what it feels like to be all of a sudden, and it probably doesn't feel as much all of a sudden for you because you know the work you've been putting in this last year, but like all of a sudden for everybody to be saying Josette Norris is on everybody's radar now. How does that make you feel?
It's been a little bit overwhelming, but also really rewarding in a way to even see. I remember I was shocked just even reading. I was reading the Fast Woman her newsletter, and it was like Josette Norris has been my dark horse the whole season, and I would be surprised if she didn't make the Olympic team. And that was the first time I've seen anything in writing that was like Josette Norris contender for the Olympic team. And just reading it, I was like, wow, like it's really cool to see all these people seeing the work that I've been putting in and watching my races and watching my progress. And I've just been so honed in on just like my season and training that when I really take a step back and consider what the potential is, it's really exciting and rewarding for me. But it's definitely been a shift in perspective even in the last year so much. I would say last year my goal was if I can make the Olympic trials final, that would be amazing. Like, let's see if I can make the final at the trials and then see what I can do in 4 more years at next time. And now it's like I want to be on that team and I need to be finishing top three. So my expectation for myself and those around me has definitely been elevated, but it's just made me more grateful and excited for the opportunity. I just feel like every race I've been going into, I've been so excited to test myself. And I think that's a really fun mindset to have going into these races. I've just been really enjoying competing against the best girls in the country and seeing what I can do and seeing what I'm made out of. So I just feel like I keep learning a little bit more about myself, even when I step on the line in these races every month and every week.
Yeah, I mean, how you explain that, it seems like the trajectory of a professional's running career, you would feel like that. You would think, okay, I want to get to the finals. And like, that's my big goal this first go around. But having that extra year, you know, with the trials and the Olympics being pushed back, it's really interesting how it has affected different athletes. And someone like you know, your first year pro and kind of getting your footing with Coach Fox and figuring that out, it's almost like this extra year is a huge blessing for you. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I can't believe how much I've grown in this extra year. And I'm so grateful that I've had this extra time. I really needed it personally. And I know it's been different and hard for everyone navigating this last year. And I think for me, it was just so beneficial because last year I was just trying to adjust in my first year as a professional. The training and intensity was a lot harder than I was used to in college, and just being in a new place, new environment, new coach, new teammates, other professional runners that I'm now running with. And it took a really long time to get my feet under me, my legs under me, and even just regaining my confidence again, because now I'm not being compared against the college girls. I'm being compared against the other professional runners. And being a new professional, that can be hard when there's women that have been doing this for 5+ years. So that extra time was instrumental for just my confidence and my strength. And I seriously have been able, it's been amazing that I've been able to just nail Coach Fox's workouts, every single one, since this past fall. I haven't had one hiccup since like October when we met back up as a team. And each month has really just been building and building. And I'm really grateful that I'm in that position, because I know this last year has been really hard for a lot of people. And for some, it took the opposite direction. So I'm just really grateful for this opportunity. And I want to take full advantage of being in this position right now, because who knows what like the next few years are going to look like. And just like, you can't control everything. And I just want to take control of what I can right now in this moment and really go after a big goal of mine.
Coach Fox sounds like he is a really awesome coach. He is the same coach that coaches like Marty Heher, right?
Yes, we got our whole marathon crew. So yeah, Marty, Colin, and Paige are our
Uh-huh.
little marathon crew right now. But yeah, it's really cool that Coach Fox is getting. He was the stud coach at Syracuse, and everyone knew him for the national championships and everything, and at Syracuse. But it's really cool that he's getting so much attention right now, from the marathon down to the track. I think our group is really unique in that way, that we have the top marathoners in the US, and we can run all the way down up to the 1500. So I think it's just a really unique group of athletes on both the men's and women's side. And the way he trains us, he can prepare us for any type of situation. Like, you go in knowing that you have the strength and you have the speed to be able to finish and close fast in a race, and you can step on that line confident, knowing that you're going to be in contention because you've covered all the bases that you need to cover as a distance runner.
Yeah, you know, it's just from my talking with Marty and kind of paying attention to what you've said about your training, it kind of seems like he has this like perfect storm of like, when we need to be intense, let's be intense, but he doesn't overtrain you guys. Do you feel that?
Yes, definitely. And that was one of my biggest concerns, even just signing. I told him, like, I think I'm extremely undertrained with just the fact that I wasn't healthy in college a lot, and I didn't have like that big of a foundation under me. And I was just nervous about everyone was like, oh, Fox is very strength based. And I'm like, I'm a strength based runner, but I'm also probably a little bit more behind than you might expect, as going into the professional world. And he's been super cautious with me and listens to his athletes. And he's really big on, we hit the workouts hard, but the days between are really up to you and what you need to get your body ready. And that's how I like to train. Just like hit the hard days hard when you need to, and really just recover and get your body feeling good. And he didn't increase my mileage significantly as a professional. And I told him, like, I want to be able to do this for a really long time, and I can see my potential doing this 5 years from now. And he's been really just a long-term coach, and his approach has been very long-term. And when he wants the intensity to be intense, it's intense, and we're putting in great work. But a lot of just, even in the fall, it's a lot of like hilly tempo runs, progression long runs, fartleks. He always has sneaky fartleks in there that you don't think is like, yeah, I can handle that. That's not too bad. And then you go and look at your watch after, and we're like, that was 5 miles of work at like 5:45 pace. And it's like, that was so sneaky because it was just 90, 60, 30 sets of, and so he has definitely a sneaky way of adding in this strength work. And it's almost, that first year pro, it was kind of hard to gauge of like, was that a good effort? Because we're on a hilly course or we're on grass, and maybe it's more of like a cross country based strength build up in the fall. And so it was almost hard to know, like, oh, was that, where am I right now? But then you step on the track and you do that first track workout and you nail it, and it's like, wow, I'm in great shape right now. It's just he hadn't put us on the track in months, so we just didn't know where we're at. And I might not do the workouts where you're just doing the repeat miles or the repeat Ks where you can kind of know exactly where you are, but then you add in 1K in the rep, and it's like, wow, I ran faster than I thought I was going to in that rep. And it's like, if I had to do repeats, I know I'd be able to handle it. So his training philosophy, I'm still feel like I'm trying to learn it. I'm definitely a track nerd in just the sense of that I love hearing people's training and just learning. And I hope one day that I could go into coaching myself. So I love trying to like figure out what Coach Fox is going to give me on the day, because he won't tell you till after you're warmed up or
Oh,
anything.
really?
Yeah, and I know some people love to like know their workouts beforehand, but in college I didn't know what I was doing with Julie till right before I warmed up, and Coach Fox is even after you warm up, you still don't even know what you're doing. But so it is sometimes fun to guess, and sometimes you're completely wrong, but in knowing what he's going to pull out. But he's definitely been cautious with me, and now even he's learned me after just coaching me for a year and just seeing how I've progressed. And I think it's really great that he's gotten to know me better as just even in workouts and racing. I just feel like I can get into a different zone than I can in practices versus that race atmosphere. And I think I keep surprising him a little bit in races, which is cool to see. Even after that 5K out in LA, he's like, I don't get shocked many times as a coach. And he's like, you shocked me today. And that was kind of cool to see, because he's been coaching for a really long time, and I was able to shock Coach Fox after my 5K. So yeah, it's been really fun, and it's working really well right now. So it's clicking at the right time, and I trust that he's going to get me ready for the races that I need to be ready for.
Oh my gosh. Okay, first of all, I think I would actually love not knowing the workout until I was warmed up, because it's like, then you don't have to think about it or like dwell on it or anything. It's like, okay, let's just go do it now. Secondly, we're going to talk about that 5K 14:51, like blew your PR out of the water, blew the Olympic standard out of the water. So let's go back though, because one of the things I want to talk about is the fact that you did struggle a little bit in college, and you had that breakout year, your 5th year. So, you know, when people follow an athlete's college career, I feel like they're like, okay, if someone's won all these NCAA titles and things like that, they're looking like, who's going to go pro and what team are they going to go with? So can you talk about what that was like having that breakthrough your 5th through, and then really walking through, like, I know I'm good enough to go pro, but maybe I'm not the one person all the teams are kind of vetting on. So talk to us about that process.
Yeah, my college experience was definitely really unique. And just to give a little reference, in high school, I ran 441 in the 1600, and I was a state champion. I was multiple time All-American, and I was highly recruited as a high schooler, based on my mile and 2 mile. And it took me till my 5th year in college to break my high school mile time.
Wow.
And that, just like, I think that even just having that barrier of what I thought college was going to look like and the expectations going into college, it was really hard, like emotionally. And I struggled with a lot of like little injuries that came up, and some of them were just ankle sprains, just that ended up happening right before the outdoor season. I didn't get to run my last 2 outdoor seasons at Georgetown, and so I transferred to Georgetown after 2 years at UNC, and I didn't even get to compete in my first 2 spring seasons at Georgetown. So my only outdoor season at Georgetown ended up being my 5th year, which I had that breakout season in. Went to my first NCAA championship and finished as an All-American. And I think that's just it was a really unique situation and a rare situation where you see someone who hadn't really done much in those first 4 years in your college career, and then to really step it up in that 5th year. And I was really just proud of myself of what I was able to accomplish in that 5th year. And that just, I can attribute to just healthy running and finally having a consistent base under me. I didn't have cross country eligibility in my 5th year. So I was able to kind of take a step back and just train throughout that fall. And I think that actually helped me too then in the postseason, because I actually kept running that entire summer because I was chasing a pro contract, because I wasn't one of those top recruited people. I wasn't an NCAA champion. So I kept running all the way till the USA, the championships, which was late June in 2019. And I was able to lower my personal bests enough to sign with Ray Flynn and then sign a contract with Reebok. And that's when I met Coach Fox at the USA championships. And it was just really rewarding to see that hard work that I put in that 5th year, because I think I was really struggling with just feeling like I couldn't catch a break. Like something, when things would go well, something bad would set me back. And I actually got a really bad, not many people know this, but I got a really bad dog attack on a run. Like
Oh,
I got
wow.
bitten by a dog, and he threw me to the ground. Like I have the scars on my quad and everything. And that was why I had to actually take off my entire spring season, because a month after that, it was in the shaft of my femur. A
Wow.
month after that, I actually got a stress fracture in my femur, and I've never had a bone injury in my entire life. And I thought it was really strange that I experienced a bone injury in my femur, which is such a big bone. And my bone density has always been, I've been really like good about like making sure my bone density is good and really good about eating and fueling. And I was really surprised by that. And every single doctor that examined it was like, I'm contributing this to the dog attack because I was compensating so much because my leg was so swollen and bruised for months. And it ended up just like pulling on my quad. And I actually ended up with a really big femur injury. And so a lot of setbacks that I just felt like I couldn't catch a break all the time. And I remember that I had a nice indoor season in my 5th year where I kept seeing like little glimpses of that potential. And I put together some really good races and like finally broke through that high school mile time and finally was running like that confident runner that I was in high school. Like it took me till my 5th year in college to feel like that carefree, confident high school runner where just nothing phases you and you're just running and having so much fun. And that was huge for me. And I'm really grateful that it came together, and I just kept believing in myself and kept putting in the work and trusting that at some point this is going to work out. And I've always dreamed about running professionally, and I was so grateful to have that chance. And now I'm in my 2nd year as a professional runner, and I've been injury free the last 3 years. And that's what's been such a big difference in just my strength as a runner, because I'm finally running consistently and I'm finally putting in the work that I hadn't been able to put in all those years before. So that's been huge to my development. And that's why everyone's so shocked about these breakthrough times. And I've just been able to put in such good work. And then now I've had the chances to be in those races where it's a rare opportunity when everything kind of clicks in those races and it's not a tactical race. And that 5K was one where we just stepped on the line and we were clicking off those splits. And I felt so good and so strong. And I definitely didn't, my goal was to run 15:10 in that 5K race. And it was, yeah, I was like, I would be just as happy with a 15:09. I just was going after that Olympic standard, but just that competitor in me, really kicked off. And in that last 1,200 meters, I was just like, I'm staying with this pack and I'm going to do whatever I can to finish second in this race because Hassan was doing her own thing up in the front. But,
what was that? Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. But that was huge. Like I just been, yeah, it's been a crazy last few years, and I'm really happy that it's clicking right now at the right time.
Why did you transfer from UNC to Georgetown?
Yeah, so I transferred after my sophomore year, and I just felt like I loved UNC in the school, and that was my dream school in high school. When I was like, if I could run in college, I'm going to UNC. However, I went on a road trip with my high school friend to her softball tournament back in high school, and we passed through Chapel Hill, and I became obsessed with it. And once I had the chance to go and run there after my breakout season in high school, there was no going back. I was like, I'm going to UNC no matter what. And I think just learning how much, when you're a college runner, how much your life revolves around running. I knew that if I was going to do this and be able to reach my full potential, I just thought I needed a change in environment and I needed to be happier. And so I made the move to Georgetown, which I also looked at in high school when I was recruited. So I felt really confident and comfortable making that shift. But it was scary. And of course, right when I got there, actually Coach Mike then transferred to NAU, and then Julie Cully became my coach. So it was a little hard during the transition because I went in thinking Coach Mike was going to be my coach after a big transfer move. And then it ended up being Julie Cully, which I was also so stoked about because we're both from New Jersey, and she's done everything that I want to do in this sport. She made the Olympic team in 2012 in the 5K. So I think I was fangirling her for most of my time at Georgetown, but it ended up being a great fit. And I still struggled even in that transition, just like I did from high school. So of course the transition was hard and I had some setbacks, and with these fluke injuries that were happening, I couldn't not sprain my ankle every spring season. I think I just wasn't, my bones weren't, like my ankle bones weren't strong enough, and I had these little setbacks that were just nagging and lingering, and it was really hard to just get back going again so much in college. Like you get in a good position, have a setback, and then just try to get back, and it always took longer than you'd expect, and it was just really hard on the body and the mind. But yes, Julie always believed in me, and that was really big too. I remember just in some of the meetings, she's like, I know what goals you want, and I can tell that you're like, it's like I can hear it in your voice, like your voice is like cracking. And sometimes I think I was just I felt so far away from the goals that I wanted to do that I couldn't even say it to her because I was like, I'm so far away from it, I can't even like tell you right now what I want to do. And I think she always saw that and like knew how emotional I would get because I thought I was running out of time to just even have the opportunity to even pursue a pro career. So I'm really grateful that it was her and that she kept believing in me and maybe gave me a little bit of tough love in that 5th year because we were on a time crunch, but she really was able to help me and get into that position of getting that pro contract in the postseason.
So like when you're talking about those big goals you had and being kind of like even scared to say them because you felt so far away, what did Julie do or what did you do like self-help wise to get yourself comfortable like speaking it and believing it?
Yeah, that was a really hard part for me. I think we had to break through a lot of walls. Like I definitely had my guard up. I had a big wall, and I think just like having more meetings and even just being open with my teammates and having conversations with them about what I want to do in this sport really helped. My one roommate, Madeline, in my 5th year, she's one of my best friends. Like we would talk a lot just about like what we want to do with our running and our goals. And that really helped me just like be able to even just put it out on the
Mm.
table. And even I started when I started dating Robby, who's now my fiance. He's a professional runner, and I remember I was coming back from that femur injury, and he would like be texting me like even right before we were dating when we were just talking and like, how's your run going? Like, and I'm like, why does he care about my 4 mile run at like 8 minute pace? I'm like, I'm so embarrassed like to even just like tell him about it. But it was really something I needed, just to someone just to like, they were both, everyone was holding me accountable, and everyone was like checking in on me and just like watching my progress and just like checking in, like, how's your run going? And I'm like, oh, it's going great. And then suddenly I was like, I wanted to like brag about like how the runs were going. And I think it's always good when you want to talk about running, because a lot of times like I never wanted to talk that I was like going to race or like what my training was. And that really took a shift, that I was just more open about even just talking about my runs, my goals, how I'm feeling. Just like, it was almost like I just could like vent to people after just keeping it all like boggled in for so many years. And I think it became easier to talk about when the running was also going well. It just when you kind of like, I broke through a couple barriers just in my races, and that definitely helped. But yeah, I remember a lot of times I would just write in my log mostly what I like post race of like my thoughts and everything. And I remember the coaches would read the log because they had access to our training log. And sometimes I just use that as my diary. And I'm like, I'm just going to let them hear my thoughts, because I can't tell them in these meetings for some reason. I can't get it off my chest, or I'm going to start crying. So I was like, I'm just going to tell them in my log. And yeah, I just got a lot more comfortable just talking and being vulnerable. And I think I definitely had a guard up just from what like I did in high school, and then all those expectations, and just kind of like shoving it away for a little bit because I felt so far away from it. So yeah, really venting and talking to people definitely helped me feel like I could break through that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in my years of interviewing people, like when I hear someone confidently say, I mean, I remember interviewing when I was interviewing Shelby Houlihan and Carissa Schweitzer, and like they had just broke 14:30 in the 5K, and then Shelby was like, "Yeah, I want the world record." Like, and she just like said that. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of an audacious, like huge, crazy goal. But I feel like, and hearing you talk about this, and once you finally said it, and once you finally announce it and proclaim it to
Hmm.
people, even if it sounds crazy to them and sounds crazy to you, I just think you believe it so much more, right?
Definitely. It's almost like freeing in a sense when you're able to talk about your goals and put them out there. And I think it also holds you to a higher standard too, because it's like, wow, that's what I want to do. I'm telling people what I want to do. Like, let's make it happen. And there's a sense of urgency and confidence, and just being vulnerable is really big in this sport. And I think if you can step on that line confident and really believing in what you're doing, that is so huge. And that's just been my motto this season. I'm really believing in what the work that I've put in, and I'm stepping on that line, believing I have just as much as a shot as anyone else. And I really truly believe that, and I'm seeing it in these races now, and that just makes me feel more confident then about sharing the goals that I have, because you're seeing it work to your benefit of being open and honest and sharing your thoughts and feelings.
Okay, so before we go into these races you've done this spring and how amazing they have been, why did you go with Reebok?
Yes, so I wasn't very heavily recruited outside of college, just not being an NCAA champion. But I definitely did turn some eyes, and I with just competing in my first NCAAs and finishing fourth in the 5K, and then my summer racing, I was able to lower both my 15 and 5K PRs to some decent times. And Ray Flynn, I signed with Ray Flynn. He definitely helped me a lot to secure a contract. And I took a visit to a couple groups, and things really clicked when I talked to Coach Fox, and knowing his history and his experience and what Reebok was going for, and being a new company, and they're getting back into like the running world. It was really cool to be a part of something new and be part of the women's team that was just being developed. And Paige Stoner had just signed, who I was following along in college, and We had Tori and Amy on the team at the time. So I really had a lot of fun on my visit, even just running with the boys too. Like I just felt like it was a really great transition for me out of college because it also reminded me of a college team and that college atmosphere of having a guys and girls team together. And we're all pretty young, I would say, in one of the younger pro groups out there. And that really felt fitting to me. And a lot of us are, I would say, like a bit of underdogs where we're not all the NCAA champions, but we all have put up some really great times and races. And I just feel like a lot of us this season are really taking it to the next level, which is really cool to see. But I really feel like there's so much potential for this team. And I was really excited to be part of it and really happy that Reebok saw the potential in me as well to sign a pro contract. So I took a couple of visits to a couple groups, but Reebok was definitely my favorite, and they offered me a great contract in the situation. So I was happy to sign with them, and really happy that it's working so well in the second year right now.
Yeah, Reebok's like, okay, we did good. We did good with Josette. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're really happy right now.
They're getting that recognition for sure. Okay, so let's talk about the spring because you do your first year. And like we had talked about, it was a lot of adjusting, and like just like you adjust from high school to college, you're adjusting from college to professional training. So it's kind of like finding your footing. And then you had great training this past fall, and everything's kind of really coming together right at what it seems like the very right time. Talk about breaking the tape at the Drake Relays.
Oh, that was incredible. I've actually never broken the tape, even in high school. None of my state races, you ever would break the tape or any of the invitationals. So breaking that tape at Drake and getting my first professional win in a 1500 against a really competitive field, that was amazing. I was so ecstatic, and it was really just rewarding to see it like, wow, I belong. I feel like I'm really putting my foot in the door as a professional and really showing people what I'm made out of. And it was really just rewarding and a really fun experience to do that at Drake Relays. I was really excited to run a 1500. I love racing the 1500, and I had run a couple before, and they were pretty tactical. And so I felt pretty prepared for this race if I could be in it and close well. And that was just so much fun. Like I just had so much fun doing that, and really then set the stage for the next few races ahead after that.
The athletic director or the director of the Drake Relays, Blake Bolden, he used to be the executive director for the Monumental Marathon in my hometown, and he is just a great guy. So it's been really fun to be able to see him take on that role. And now that we got to have races again this year, really exciting to see that. What was the entire like race and weekend? I mean, Drake is such a well-known and historic event. What was that like for you?
It was awesome. I actually had never been to Drake Relays before. So being like an East Coast kid, we always knew about the Penn Relays, and I did the Penn Relays in high school and college. And so it was really cool to experience the Drake Relays for the first time. And that was right when they started to allow fans. So there was fans at the stadium. So it was limited number of fans, but it was it felt like a packed stadium race, and I hadn't raced in a stadium in a while. It's just been a lot of little local high school tracks here and there, just whatever we could get on with COVID. So it felt really really great just being on that line in a stadium and that atmosphere. And my family and friends got to watch it on TV, and they really put together the race so nicely. And I'm excited to go back to Drake Relays again, but I can't complain. I had a great first experience at Drake Relays.
That's awesome. Okay, so talk about you start out pro, and there's all these women who have been racing pro for a while, right? That you are now in races with. And I would assume last year you're at the starting line of these races, and you might not think, okay, I'm in it with these ladies, but now just 1 year later, 1 year into your pro career, I know you're year 2, you are on the line with Emily Sisson, Ellie Purrier, Rachel Schneider, and you are a true contender. You're not just a contender, you've proven it. You've won the races. So, and you've broken 15 minutes in the 5K, which is just massive. So, what does your mindset do now? Like, you have to kind of shift. You're a different competitor now. So, how are you managing those expectations?
Definitely. And in a way, I've looked up to those women, and I'm like a fan of watching them and watching them race. I've watched all their races, and I've hoped to be able to get to their level when I was in college and in my first year pro. I was always watching them, and now it's definitely been a shift. Like now I'm trying to beat them in races. There's definitely a bit of a competitor in me now, but just being in those races with them and now seeing that I do belong in those races and I can take the lead and I can close and finish and be one of the top US women, that's given me a lot of confidence to see that I've done it now. And almost just even in that the 5K that I did in February when I got my trials time, I took the lead with 1200 to go, and I think a lot of people were just slowing down and letting it be a tactical race. And I put myself in it and I took the lead against a field that included Ellie and Emma and Rachel. And I just didn't look back. And that I ended up getting outkicked in the end. But that race was really big for me mentally to know that I can do it if I want to. And I remember being a little hesitant in the race, like, should I go around Ellie right now? And I'm like, yes, because if I don't, I'm not going to get to go to the Olympic trials. And in my head, that was my mindset. So that was a big just barrier of like knowing like, hey, I belong in these races. Like I'm competing well. And then the races after that just kept building and building. And now I just have a lot to look back on that gives me a lot of confidence that now when I step on the line, like I can be there with them. And even in that 5K, at Sound Running when I ran the 14:51. I remember with 1200 to go, I fell off Rachel like 2 steps, and I just knew in my head like I need to get right back on her, because if I don't get right back on her, I'm gonna let myself like out of this race. And I took those 2 steps, and I was right back in it. And then when she made her move around Emily Sisson, I just followed and I matched it. And it's been really cool just to see that I'm able to do that now at this level in these races with such competitors and amazing women. And it's really cool to now feel like I belong in that scene. And I really do feel like there's a lot more running left in me, and I'm excited to see what I can do even at these bigger stages in these next few months.
I just watched the race back before the interview to get hyped. And when was it that Rachel, that you were like feeling, you went back 2 steps and you were like, no, get up there? What part of the race was that?
So that was with 1200
1200 to go.
So Emma Coburn had stepped off the pacing, and I remember even in my head, I'm like, I hope we keep clicking off these 71s. Like, this is great. Like, I'm going to get my time. And then in my head, like a gear changed. I'm like, wait, I'm racing these girls. Like, this is who I'm going to be competing against at the Olympic trials. So even in the race, I had this moment of like that competitor turned on in me. And I even with 1200 to go, I remember Robby shouted out like, trust yourself. And I heard him say that, and I was like, yeah, like I can do this. Like, I was like, I'm in this race. I'm just as good as these girls. I can do this. And I just kept holding on. And then the last lap, you don't get to see it on the video, but with 300 to go, Rachel made her move, and I went right with her and followed that move. And then in the last 100, I was able to switch gears and close, and I have a great last lap and run the time.
Yeah, that's always so hard because like the video's watching the winner, obviously, but like the chase is with you guys. So it's like, oh, what's going on over there? So yeah, I couldn't see exactly when she made her move. That is so exciting. And I also noticed throughout the race, you were with that front pack, but like for a while there, you were probably like like 6th, 7th, kind of like mixed in there. And then you saw a couple times you made some like surges to get up there. So that was all like strategy. Like, okay, I'm going to make a move and get up with the group.
Yeah. So for some reason I find myself in the back of 5Ks. At NCAs, I think I was in last place for the first half of the NCA race, and I think I just try to stay as calm as possible,
Uh-huh.
and then I end up somehow in everyone's making moves pretty early on, and I end up somehow all the way in the back of the race, and I have these moments where it's like, oh no, like make sure that you are making the correct move to get right back into the pack. So I had to make two really
Mm-hmm.
big surges in that 5K that one of them I was pretty nervous that I had to make such a big move to get back to the pack, but luckily I was strong and felt good. But I definitely had to make these moves to make sure that I then didn't miss the real moves that were being made in the
Mm-hmm.
race. And I just keep my eyes up the whole time to make sure that I'm putting myself in the right position at the right time to re-engage with the group. And it felt a lot smoother once the pack had kind of just lined up a little bit more and I put myself in that fifth position. And then could just really just focus on clicking off those laps. But the beginning of the races is definitely a bit of jostling and just trying to find your positioning, and while also trying to stay as calm as possible because it's a long race and you don't want to be wasting any energy early on in a 5K.
How cool is it to be able to be so in control of your body physically to say, now I'm going to do this. Now this is going to happen. And I know there are times when you're in race and you just run out of gas and you physically can't, but like you literally could just tell yourself, it's time to go. It's time to search. It's time to move around. Rachel's going. I'm going with her. And that is so much credit to your training and what Coach Fox has done with your training for you to be able to do that. But also, there's a lot of mental training that has gone into that as well. What do you think you've done to sharpen that side of your fitness?
Yeah, it's really amazing when the mind and body are in sync, and they definitely have felt in sync even in workouts and these races. And I feel like I've been able to change a gear in that competitor side of me this season from being in those races. And I think a lot of even just the tactical races that I've been in that maybe have been a little bit more low key this season have really helped prepare me for anything to expect in the race, whether it's going to be a fast race or a tactical race. So I definitely felt just feeling prepared and knowing that my body can make these moves. And I definitely tell myself in races, like I'm talking to myself the whole time, just like telling myself, like, commit to this, like commit to the move and commit to the paces you're going. And I remember passing through 3K, and we went through 3K and that 5K in 9:01. And the indoor season before, I had run 8:58, which was a huge PR for me in my first year as a professional. And now I'm going through 3K at roughly the same pace, and I still have 2K to go. And in that moment, I wasn't scared. Like I was really happy. I was like, wow, I'm at 9 minutes at 3K and I feel great. Like it was just really reassuring to be feeling that way in a 5K race. And just credit to Coach Fox, like he's prepared me so well physically, and now that just helps me mentally be able to compete and be there. And I think just even in practices, I used to get really like high off like these really good workouts that I've been having, and now I've probably stacked together better workouts than I ever have in my entire life. And I'm just finishing the workout and it's just like another workout, and I'm not getting this emotional high
Mm.
or this wasting any emotional energy that maybe that I needed to feel that way in college or like my first year pro. Like I nailed it and like take all that energy and like soak it all up. And now it's just like, that's like the expectation, and it's just like another day at practice. And that's been, I think, a shift in even in him seeing me practice. It's like Josette just like steps on the line, does the work, and then goes home. And I've just been able to put in a lot of great training and just feel really content with what I'm doing. And then when I step on the line for races, I just feel really prepared at this point.
Yeah. As I'm hearing you say all that, it makes me feel like you are feeling really calm. You know, instead of riding those like emotions up and down, up and down, you get done, you go
Mm-hmm.
home, you eat, you do what you need to do in your life, and you're not so like emotionally like stuck to those workouts. That's got to feel
Mm-hmm.
so freeing.
It definitely is, because I was stuck to those workouts when I needed something to cling on to
Yeah.
in college and in that first year pro to even know where I stack up. And now, yeah, I do feel like a really big sense of calmness, and that's a really nice feeling to have. And it's a different feeling than I've had. I almost, yeah, it just reminds me of being like that high school runner where I just felt
Mm.
really calm. And it's okay that there's this pressure now. Like people expected me to run well in high school, and I like a little bit of pressure. Like I like when people are like saying like, "Oh yeah, just that's a contender." Like it feels good. Like I'll be honest, and it reminds me that like, hey, people are watching, and it's you're ready, and people believe in you, and it's really cool to be in this position right now.
I love that. Commit to this. And then what Robby told you, trust yourself. I think everybody listening, you got a new mantra, guys. You got a new, we have define yourself from Dina Castor way back in the day. Now I think these two are two new favorites for me. Commit to this and trust yourself. It sounds like Robby, and for those listening, that's Josette's fiance. He's a 2016 Olympian. It sounds like he has been a huge mentor in your running and has helped you with that mental side of things.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would call him. Like he's been a huge mentor for me, and he's been doing this for a long time, and I feel really lucky that I one, he's my partner, and two, I get to learn so much from him. It's a really unique situation, and he believes in me so much and has helped me really hone in on that like emotional side of running and that mental side and what it means to be a competitor. And I've seen just huge gains in just following his advice and just also navigating the pro world. He actually really encouraged me even this past fall. Me and him took a trip to altitude, and I had never been to Flagstaff, and he's gone a lot in his experience. And Coach Fox allowed me to go, and it was over our winter break when we kind of all go home for winter break. And I went with Robby out to Flagstaff, Arizona, and Robby told me afterwards, he's like, I really just wanted you to open your eyes to see even just the other professional runners out there and just learn what it's like to be out there at altitude and what other professional runners are doing, and just learn from the older girls that you're going to go on runs with. And that was even just a really big thing for me. Just like it wasn't just like the physical benefits of altitude training. He wanted me to go to altitude just for me to see these other women and be like, yeah, I can do this too. And that was huge for me. And another thing about that, the commit line, I have a story about that in college before the NCAA championships. Julie, actually, we were talking and just like walking through the race the night before, and she asked me, she's like, what's going to be your word like in the race? And I was like, what do you mean? Like my word? She's like, I always have a word that I'm going to tell myself in a race. Like, when things are getting tough or you really want to do something, like, what's your word? And I like had to sit there and think, and I just said, commit.
Mm.
She's like, I love it. And that's been my word ever since that race. Like if I'm going to commit to then making that move, I better commit to making that move. And if I'm going to go and I'm dropping a lap and I'm cutting down the pace, like commit to making that move and just to committing to the pack. And that's been my little word that I've been telling myself the past 3 years. Even in workouts, sometimes I've needed to tell myself that word. But yeah, so that's a little story of that background of how commit came to be. And even just Robby yelling out, trust yourself in that race. That was such a big reminder that like he knows what I've been doing these past few years and the work I've put in, and he knows I'm capable of it. And that was just like a little reminder, like, hey, yeah, trust yourself. Like you're ready, you can do this. And he's been my number one fan, and I'm his number one fan, and we really support each other really well. And it's really fun to be doing this with him and be a professional. I feel like when I first signed, all I ever wanted to do is be as good as Robby. So it's really cool to now be at that next level and see just these huge gains that I've been able to make in just a short amount of time.
Who did you run with in Flagstaff?
I was doing a lot of runs with the Under Armour crew.
Okay.
And so I did some mile repeats with Rachel and Sharon and Emily, and that was so much fun. I was like, hey guys, I'm having so much fun doing a workout with you.
That's awesome.
I did a long run with Molly Seidel. The New Balance girls came out and they lived around the corner. So I went on some easy runs with them. The Bowerman crew was there. So I went on a run with Shelby and Carissa and Courtney. And it's funny, I had never met all these other runners because I turned pro and then COVID
Yeah.
happened. So I hadn't opened my eyes to even just the chance to meet all these other runners because I was so honed in on what I was doing here in Charlottesville. And it was just really just eye-opening and having that experience to learn from these other runners and also know like, hey, I'm doing the workout with them, like, and we're at altitude and I'm able to run with them. And I met a lot of people in that month time in Flagstaff, which was really fun for me. So that was huge.
I just love it so much. This is why I love running so much. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know of any other sport where like you're all towing the line to like beat each other, but then everybody kind of has their own teams and groups or whatever, but like you still get together and go run with each other and like learn from each other. And I just think it's so freaking cool.
Oh yeah, it was so amazing. And it was really nice of the Stephen Haas, who's the Under Armour coach, and Shayla Houlihan to let us be at practice. I was really grateful that they allowed us, they took us into the team and
So
we got
cool.
to go on all the runs with them and practice with them. So the running community is really unique in that sense that everyone is really supportive of each other and everyone's cheering each other on when we're all doing workouts, whether it's in reps or out of watching each other do workouts on the track. So it was a really fun experience and just the running community is so unique and it's so much fun that, yeah, we can work out together and then be competitors on the line. But it's really cool that so many runners live up there and it was really cool to go out there and experience that for the first time.
Yeah, and like different brands, like you know what I mean. You're
Oh
like
yeah.
repping different brands, and I mean, I think it's so special too because like you're all out there working your butts off, and like you know that like Rachel or whoever it is you're running with, like it's hurting too. So it's just seeing each other put that work in the bank. Like of course you're going to support each other, but I just think of other sports and like teams, and not that people on different teams don't like each other, but I just feel like there's more of a different kind of rivalry where it's like a camaraderie with it's distance running especially. And maybe that's because I interview a lot of distance runners, but I do feel like I see that so clearly. Okay, the other question about Robby, because we were talking about him going out to Flagstaff, is when did you all meet?
So we met back in 2016 actually.
Okay.
But we didn't start I met him then, but we didn't start dating until, is it 2018?
Okay.
Yep, 2018. So it's going to be our 19, 2020. Yeah, it's we just had our 3-year anniversary in April. So
Okay.
yeah, we started dating in 2018, but I met him back in 2016, which is actually a really funny story. So Team USA in 2016 went to go meet the president, and Georgetown actually had hosted Team USA for like a pre-night event before they went to go meet President Obama. So we had all the Olympians on campus in the Healy Center for like a huge celebration party for Team USA, which was so cool because me and my teammates were like, we get to see all the Olympians, and
worth the transfer just for that.
Oh my God. Yeah, and that was actually the year that I had just transferred there. So like 2 months in, I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Everyone's coming down to meet the president. But so I got to meet a bunch of the distance runners, and like Emily Infeld came to speak to our team because she ran at Georgetown. So it was really just a cool weekend out being at Georgetown. And then I met Robby. And I was like, I'm from New Jersey too. Like I'm just being a little fangirl at the time. So yeah, we just knew of each other and we're friends because we had a bunch of mutual friends because a lot of people on my team knew him. Just because the older people on my team knew him. And we were friendly here and there, and then our paths never crossed again for a couple years. And then we started talking and started dating in 2018. And now we're engaged. But it's been really amazing, and we're really having fun right now.
Were you thinking about it though in between 2016 and 2018? Like, did you kind of have your eye on him?
I definitely thought he was really cute. Did I think that we would be dating 2 years later? No. I in that moment, no. But I definitely was a little bit of a fangirl, just also because I was like, he's from New Jersey and I'm from New Jersey.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think I was obsessed with that fact.
Yeah, you love New
And
Jersey.
yeah, I'm a big Jersey fan. Yeah, in that moment, no. But it's really funny to look back on and to know like that we met back then. And actually, we got engaged in Georgetown because that was where we did meet. And that's like where we had our first run together, where we had our first kiss, like where we first went to the bar together. So it's really cool that it kind of all started at Georgetown. And we always joke around like, if I never transferred to Georgetown, would we still be
Yeah.
would we be together? And I was like, oh my God, it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. That's so good. So you can thank Coach, if you really go back, you can thank Coach Mike for that because if you were transferring to Georgetown for him, even though he didn't get to coach you, he's got a heavy hand in this relationship.
Yeah, shout out to Coach Mike for making it all together.
Oh, that's so good. Okay. So let's before we do end a podcast, let's kind of close out with talking through these races this spring, winter, that 1519 OTQ in February down to 1451, which I know I've heard you talk about it and you're like, yes, it seems like massive, but you think you kind of like knew you had that in your wheelhouse. I'm thinking as I'm hearing you talk, you were talking about those big goals you had and like saying those out loud. Was breaking 15 in the 5K one of those big goals?
Um, I actually wasn't thinking that in my head. I was so focused on like getting that Olympic
Mm-hmm.
time. So then if I had the chance to be top three, I would get to go to the Olympics. And it's funny, Coach Fox loves to throw out what times he thinks you'll run. Just in the middle of a workout. He's like, you're in this shape, you're in that shape. And he had thrown out 1450 and I laughed it off. Like and then I ended up running 1451 in that race, but he has thrown out so many times to me where I don't really like think too much about it.
Mm-hmm.
But then in my workouts, I was putting together workouts that indicated that I was in sub 15 shape.
Mm.
And I thought at that race in February, I could have run that 1510 at the time, and training had only gone better since that race. So I believed that if I was in 1510 back in
Mm.
February, 1510 shape, like I definitely knew I was in better shape. I just didn't expect the race to just be that fast in general. But I did think after I did have one pretty big workout, and I remember like texting my friends like sub 15 coming soon, like jokingly on like a Snapchat. And because I was just like, I felt really good after that workout. And I was like, yeah, this like that's an indicator workout. And yeah, it was really cool to just really break that sub 15 so much, and that everything came together. Have a race where it was perfect conditions, perfect pacing, perfect weather, and it all came together. And I was able to walk away with a big PR and got my Olympic time. And it just given me more confidence now that if the trials is a tactical race or a fast race, I could be there. So that's been a big confidence booster.
Yeah, that's huge because there are some people that don't have that fast kick at the end. So you have like a little bit of both here. You have the speed and the tactics. I love it. Okay, so then we go on and we do most recently. You did this 1500 to sharpen your
Yeah.
speed and whatnot. So 406, you're feeling good about that. Now you're chilling.
Yep. That was my last race. And I really wanted to do another race between that big 5K,
Yeah.
even just to break it up mentally. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I need to step on the line again. So my next race is not the Olympic trials. And this 1500 had been on the schedule. And all of us on the East Coast were planning to have like a really great meet put together. And it was a great meet. The weather conditions were not ideal. It ended up being like 48 and
Oh,
rainy.
I
And
saw that. Yeah.
yeah, it was a pretty chilly night, but to win in 406 with a big close, that gave me like a lot of confidence. Like, yeah, I'm there. I'm ready. Like a couple key more workouts and some rest, and I'll be ready to go for the trials.
That gives you confidence for like that last K of your 5K, right?
Definitely. I wanted to run a lot of 1500s this season, because it just helps with that, like sharpening speed and
Uh-huh.
closing speed and even working on tactics, because you can never predict what's going to happen in a 1500. And even at Drake, someone fell in the first 100 meters and I hurdled them. And I just like, I hadn't been in a race where there's so much jostling for
Mm.
positioning. And yeah, anytime I step on the line in a 1500, it's a little more nerve wracking
Oh,
than
I
a
bet.
5K because there's just not as much time in the race. But they've been huge for just working on my closing speed and trying different tactics. I ran like an opener race at UVA where I went from 500 meters out, and then the Drake relays was 100 meters. So I feel like I've been able to like practice different strategies in those races, which is definitely going to help me for a 5K.
And we didn't even mention that put you at the ninth, the 14:51 put you at the ninth fastest all time American. That's wild. Congratulations.
Thank you. Some people came up to me after the race to tell me that, and I was just in shock. I didn't realize how rare it was for sub 15 races,
Yeah.
especially in the US. So it's really cool to be on that list with the other runners, and I'm really honored to be on that list.
That's awesome. Okay, so promise that you're not going to change when you go win your Olympic medals. You're so fun and approachable. And, a lot of the athletes are, but like I really feel that about you. So don't change.
Oh, thank you. I won't. Stick to my roots.
Stick to your New Jersey roots.
Yeah.
Okay. What is something professionally or personally that you would like to do that you have not done yet?
So professionally, I definitely want to represent the United States at the Olympics. That's been a dream of mine and a goal of mine for a really long time. And personally, I'd love to travel the world. I have an empty passport. I have never left the country.
Wow.
Um,
That's going to
so
change real fast.
I'm hoping running opens some doors for traveling, but also being able to travel with not the thought of any runs. I would like both of those situations. So those are two really big things that I would like to do.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I mean that's the cool thing about professional running is even though some of these travels you're going to do the running, but
Yeah.
it opens the doors to so many places that you probably wouldn't just choose to go to. So
Mhm.
that's awesome. What? All right, let me think here. What's next? Who is someone fun, motivating, or inspiring that you would like to have coffee, tea, or cocktail with?
So I'm a huge Halsey fan,
I love
so
it.
of the singer Halsey. So I definitely would want to have some cocktails, multiple cocktails with Halsey, and I'd probably make her like sing me an acoustic song. But I'm a huge Halsey fan. Like I love listening to her music. I love going to her concerts. So I would love to sit down and just talk to her over some drinks.
I listened to Halsey. I told you I watched your race and then I listened to Halsey to get in the zone for this
Oh,
interview because
are
I knew
you
you were
serious?
a
That's
fan.
awesome.
Yeah, I put on Halsey on Spotify and I listened to Nightmare because I heard you say that you used to listen to that to like pump up for a
Oh,
race.
yeah.
So I'm at my parents' house in Florida, and like my mom and my husband took all my kids out to a splash pad, and I just put Halsey on Spotify really loud. There's nobody else here, and that was my interview prep.
I love that so much. That makes me so happy. And everyone now when they hear Halsey, because I think I talk about her so much and I'm always singing her, they're always like, whenever she comes on, I think of you. And I'm like, wow, I must talk about her a lot if you guys are thinking about me when a Halsey song comes on. But yeah, she gets me in the zone. So that's so cool that you're listening to her before this.
I think that a lot of people are going to now add Nightmare to their running playlist.
Just don't do it on your pre-run shakeout because you don't want to be sprinting that pre-run shakeout. And I did that before regionals because she was getting me so amped, and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't listen to her on my shakeout morning run at 8 a.m.
Put some like Avett Brothers on for the shakeout run, and then move to Halsey.
Perfect.
Oh, that's good. Hey, we'll make a playlist because I'm obsessed with making playlists. So I'll have to make a new running playlist, and you'll have to tell me your top 3 favorite Halsey songs to go on that playlist.
Okay. Yeah, I'll text you them. It'll be perfect.
Homework. Okay. What's the best, most recent book you read? Are you a reader?
I'm trying to get more into reading, but actually Robby recommended me to read The Alchemist, which is one of his favorite books, and I read that most recently, and I thought that was so fitting even just this year about just the journey of like believing in yourself and having those setbacks and also like taking advantage of like your surroundings and like who's around you to help you. So that was like a really fitting book that I just most recently read for that moment and the moment that I'm in right now. So yeah, I'd recommend everyone to read The Alchemist. Robby recommended that for me and I loved it.
I have not. I read that book so long ago. I feel like I need to revisit it because I probably read it when I was your age and I'm 37 now. So, like, I feel like I would read it differently now, right?
Oh yeah. Robby says he reads it every year and he learns something new from it every year. So I might have to do that as well. But
Okay, I have homework now. Three
yeah,
Halsey songs,
now
and
we
I
both
gotta
have
I
it.
gotta read The Alchemist again. Okay, what is your last message you'd want to leave with our audience today?
Ooh, my last message. My last message would definitely be to keep believing in yourself and your potential. I saw this quote a bit ago that was like, be obsessed with your own potential. And I
Mm,
really liked that message of like really honing in on believing in yourself and what you're capable of. Because I think that's what kept me motivated even when I was struggling in colleges and having setbacks. I never stopped believing of what I could be capable of. And I just needed that opportunity to really like get my feet under me and get going. But I've always believed in my own potential and what I could do. And I think that's always been a driving force behind any setback that I've faced and anytime I'm stepping on that line. So that would definitely be my message.
I'm gonna throw a wrench in this and ask you one more question. I never do
Okay.
this. I just think that's such a profound and like mature mindset for someone in college, like when you're 20, 19, 20 years old, walking through that, like coming off the heels of that like massive success in high school and then thinking, what happened, but still believing in yourself. And so as a parent myself, now I'm like, I want to learn from all the parents. And I'm like, what did your parents do to raise a child who believes in themselves like that? Like, is there anything you remember from childhood that you're like, thank you, mom and dad?
Oh man,
I know that's a big question.
it's so funny because my parents weren't like too involved in my running. They would support me in any sport that I was doing, but I also played every single sport that I could, and I was obsessed with trying to be better, like in anything, whether that was soccer, basketball, running, softball. I always wanted to see what I was capable of, and I think that was just like engraved in me since elementary school. I think I've always had that desire of wanting to see how far I could go in things. And I definitely just had this support surrounding
Mm.
me to just keep pursuing what I wanted to pursue, but I had a lot of freedom. And I think I did spend a lot of my childhood just in the back of my elementary school like after school, just playing in the park. And I think I had a lot of fun just like being competitive with the boys from a young age and just testing myself and my limits. And I've had a lot of good people in my corner and in my journey, and just a lot of people who also still always believed in my potential, even when I was struggling. I've always had that like tight knit group of people, and like I've had messages now from even when I was on my church team running, like I've had emails from my old coaches, from my old teachers and like everyone. It's been like an emotional last month of like getting a lot of messages of
Mm.
people just like, "Hey, we're still following you. Like we're following you. We're cheering you on." And that like makes me really prideful. Like I have a lot of pride when I step on that start line of like all the people
Mm.
who have always believed in me, and I always like want to run well for all the people that have put so much time and effort into me because I'm so grateful for that. So I think I really take a lot of pride in that as an athlete and a person. And I really try to channel that in for my races.
I love that. Okay, the one message I really took from that is sounds like your parents really great gave you like the freedom to like play and do what you
Yeah.
love, right?
Yes, I definitely had a lot of freedom to
Freedom to play instead of like you're
to
going to this
play.
practice, you're doing, like what do you want to
Hmm.
try? What do you want to
Yeah,
try?
I
What
was.
makes you happy?
Yeah, I definitely had full control in what I wanted to do, and I think it was easy for them because I always wanted to do a lot of things. So that came. Oh, no, I think my headphones just dropped. Can you guys still hear
I
me?
can hear you.
Yes. Okay. So that gave me, yeah, a lot of freedom to explore and do what I want, and really hone in on what I was good at too.
Oh, it's so good. All right, Josette. Well, I cannot wait. Add me to your list of people that you like want to like that you're at the starting line. Like I want to be one of those people. Like I am cheering for you hard, and everybody listening to this podcast is too. Everybody who reads the Fast Women newsletter, like you have so many people in your corner now. So we're just all cheering for you and cannot wait to see what you do.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Lindsay.